Good evening. Welcome to Zoom into Wine. My name is Ian Blackburn. It is Wednesday night, 7 o'clock. Time to Zoom into Wine. And this week, as we do every week, we take a look at a different grape variety with some great people. Maybe we're talking about a place or a grape variety or a blend or an appellation. But this week, we're talking about Chardonnay and we're covering a lot of ground. So we're going to jump right into it. And here we go. Hope everyone's feeling good. Got a nice thirst built up. It's been a pretty busy month in different ways than you would imagine. We've just really hit a huge creative curve coming out of a very busy July with our Stars of Pinot Noir. We then take the month of August and just create the next 6 months of activities. So we're staying really busy, and I'll let you know about a couple of those things in just a minute. Let's get into our slideshow, get a little wine going on first, and talk about Chardonnay. Really important grape variety at one point in time, occupied, well, I'm sure it's still the number one selling wine in America, but there has been a lot of pressure on Chardonnay as we've discovered a whole world of other wine grapes. Chardonnay was, when we think of white wine, the ubiquitous white wine that you would order a glass to sit around and have as a cocktail. And then people started thinking about Albarino and Sancerre and New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc and different things started to appear. We called it the ABC movement, anything but Chardonnay. And that's because Chardonnay kind of went a little too far. I always talk about the pendulum and many different things, and in wine, it's certainly there. Pendulum swings back and forth. And in the Chardonnay world, things got a little out of center, and the Chardonnays of the world became kind of overly oaky, overly buttery, and the Chardonnay world reacted, and we're well past the center and that swing back, and we're going to see that tonight. The wines that we have represent the beautiful side of Chardonnay and is a very diverse collection of wines that I really think you're going to enjoy, but certainly represent kind of the new school, the new ideas, and maybe even jump past that oaky buttery moment and even lean into the very old school. So I think it's a great collection. I hope you enjoy. First, wine news each week. I'm just kind of going over what's happening in wine and trying to make sure that I stay pretty current and keep you up to date on some of the happenings. Wine world loses a couple of important figures every once in a while. And in the last couple weeks, we lost a great from Bordeaux named Gerard Purse. He owned the House of Pave and was an incredible businessman. Literally went from owning a small, hardworking guy in a grocery store to being able to afford a vineyard, to being able to build an incredible reputation. His ability to really aim high and develop a high quality image and reputation. I just think he was probably a really amazing man to be around. And we got to take a group there in April of this year and taste at Pave. We went to so many great places. None of them were better than Pave. Pave, Pavie. Check out Chateau Pave whenever you get a chance. It is well worth a try. And with that, best to his family, and thank you for the hospitality we received at Pave. It was really exceptional. In other news, we see the business world reacting to all of the news in the world. We've been talking about tariffs for the last couple of weeks. We now see some certainty. I and my wine store keep all of our prices intact for the wines that we own, but as replacement inventory comes in, we're seeing some price moves. And we base our wine prices off of how much the wines cost us. That's how the world works. And in the wine world, we are allowed to make a very small markup on our wine. And we encourage you to use tools like Wine Searcher to compare our price to other places. And if you factor in the fact that we do free delivery, we, I think, offer one of the best wine values that there is in Los Angeles. So please check it out. Use Wine Searcher. Know that the tariffs are going to be uh, probably continuing to be the topic of the moment in the wine world, and we will see some wines are going to really take. I mean, if you're a $300 bottle of wine and you have a 15% tariff, you're going to see a pretty significant move. But on a $30 bottle of wine, I'm sure it'll be less significant. But what the things you might not think about is that most glass bottles come in from China. That's going to be big. Most cork comes in from Europe. And we do a lot of that acquisition of our tools and equipment from around the world. So even the domestic wines will be under some pricing pressure. Of course, we had labor pressure. We have incredible shortages of vineyard workers now. So there's going to be some interesting things happening. And I do predict a very tough year ahead for vineyard owners and vignerons as far as sales and growth. I think it's a year to hold on and to make great wine and to continue to march. And that's where I stand. My final thought on wine news is there's quite a bit of interesting wines coming out that are calling themselves non-alcohol. And something I learned this week is that really the market's bifurcated into two types of non-alcoholic wines. There's zero alcohol wines, and they are probably never fermented. So they are products that are created to taste like their wine, and they could be using things like vinegar and other things to create a wine-like presence. Then there are wines that were fermented that are de-alcoholed, and they contain less than zero point 0.5 grams of alcohol. And to somebody who is, you know, promised not to drink anything, maybe completely adverse to alcohol, zero point 0.5 is not low enough. And so that is an interesting observation. Now, I still will say that I wish we would just call it something other than wine because I really believe the wine category's got enough problems than to have to wonder if the wine's alcoholic or not. Um, but that's my personal opinion. I'm a wine guy. I'm a purist, and I think the idea of non-alcoholic wine is just not something I really have ever been impressed with. The first wine that I like that's non-alcoholic, I will buy it. And I will tell everybody, this is a wine I like. I do appreciate the people that can't drink. So I have found some zeros that in the past I've carried. But here's the problem for a wine store. Those things have a very short shelf life, by the way. You cannot age those things. The zero alcohol wines are made to be drank immediately, and they can expire on your wine shelf. And mine did. And I lost a lot of money on that category. So those are my thoughts. We'll move into our first wine. Bernard Defaix. This is our first wine number one. I'm using my Chardonnay glass. Some of you were able to get some. I apologize to those of you that are outside of LA. Shipping glassware, really difficult. We can do it. It just takes a huge amount of labor and packaging. So we were not able to extend the offer outside of the LA circle. But the glass is this shape to really take advantage of the Chardonnay characteristics. And so we put a little bit of Petit Chablis. This is a 2023. Bernard Defaix is a really good brand. I'll tell you more about that in a second. Here's where Chablis is. If you look at Burgundy, Chablis is kind of like a satellite, and it's pretty much mm, it's It's pretty far north of Dijon. It's really hard to get perspective on here, but it would be up here somewhere. And it's maybe a half hour past Dijon is how I remember it. I did drive it once or twice. And let me see if I can remove that. Boom. But the monks found Chablis about 1,000 years ago. They looked down at the soils that are limestone and they saw fossils and they knew that this would be a great place for Chardonnay. So that's what they planted there and keep all the red wines away from Chablis. Sylvain Defaix is the current generation, the fourth generation of vine growers. They started in 1959 with Bernard, and he had a whopping 2 hectares or about 5 acres. So really humble beginnings. Did some noble work. Now the property's at 27 hectares, which is pretty significant. And they're fully organic since 2012. Here's a look at some of those Chablis soils, and we'll talk about those in just a minute more because there's a little better picture coming up. But Petit Chablis is basically in the map of Chablis, there's zones that are considered Chablis appellation AOC. And then there's Premier Cru and there's Grand Cru. Petit Chablis is probably fair to say the soils that are least interesting to the high end side of the Chablis marketplace. So the Petit Chablis soils are a little less expensive and they can create wines that are a little less expensive. Now, when you put it in the hands of a really top producer like Bernard Defaix, Petit Chablis can be very interesting. And I will say that Petites can range between $17, $18 a bottle to for kind of a factory produced Petit Chablis to upwards close to $40. That's kind of the price range for Petit Chablis. A look at the Chardonnay varietal. That's what we're talking about. In Chablis, the typical aspects of Chablis are that it's going to be very chiseled with a high end of minerality, focused on green apple, brightness, freshness. Not a lot of use of wood, although at the very high end, kind of the irony of Chablis is that the very expensive often do use a little bit of wood, but the fruit is so powerful that it can kind of absorb it. And even though they put that wine in wood, you don't really know it's there except by maybe a little bit of added richness that you would find in the $100 range and up of Chablis. Here's the picture I wanted to show you. And as you look down at this soil, smell your glass of Chablis and just think about that limestone, which was the bottom of the ocean, fossilized, all full of different types of fossils here. And that's what you smell. It's so subtle, so restrained. God, this is just really fun. I mean, think about it on a day like today. That's why we're doing this today. This was a nice, hot LA day. I think it's still 90 degrees outside right now. It's pretty warm, toasty, and a nice cold glass of Petit Chablis is exactly what the doctor ordered. This is 25 bucks, and I think it's an awesome little find. Hmm, not going to spit that out today. That feels good. Any questions? Hi, Natalie. Hi, Erica. Hi,
Hey,
Marie.
Ian, yeah, just wanted to say it was in the mid 70s in San Francisco today, which is very warm, and this is a perfect wine for that kind of day. So
Ah,
thank you.
I love that about San Francisco.
Love our sunny days on occasion.
I love Eric Gregory getting a little group together there. That's fun. Hope you guys have a good time. Please chime in with some comments and use the chat box to share kind of things that you're finding in there. Erica's a master in there. She'll give us some great reviews and comments to think about. But please ask away. This is our show. We're here for you. We want it to be your Zoom. We're not just showing a video and having, kind of passive things happen here. It's all for you guys. Let's go. By the way, Chablis and oysters would be phenomenal. You can have, I think Chablis little sushi would be amazing with it. Some sashimi, anything fish, anything pure, anything natural. I go out for Chinese food often. I get this crazy chicken that they make that's got this almost golden skin color, and you take the very a la natural chicken and you dip it into a ginger sauce. Super clean, really good and very healthy, and usually have a little choy on the side. This would be a wine of choice. Thank you, Teresa. I'm so glad. Yeah, the fossil, you can just smell that tension. You can feel that in the mouth. And here's the thing, if you like the Petit Chablis, and continue to head into Chablis, that character just gets more and more pronounced, more intense. I think you pick up in intensity, you pick up in concentration, you pick up in complexity, length, the whole Blick spectrum. The more you spend on Chablis, the more blicky it is. Balance, length, intensity, complexity. These are all the quality marks of a great bottle of wine. This bottle of wine is a very good bottle of Petit Chablis. 100% there, Erica, commenting on apple, blossom, minerality, very balanced, 100%. We're going to move into wine number two, which is actually made by a very famous and I mean, when I say famous, this is really high-end stuff. Samuel Billaud. This guy makes really great Chablis, and I have a couple of them. They're closer to the $100 mark. Um, I have a little bit of his Normale, the AOC Appellation Chablis, but the Premier Cru stuff, whew, ridic. And this guy came in, the person who sells me this has said, "Have you ever just tried the Bourgogne?" And I said, "No, it's a Chablis producer. I'm probably not gonna want to go there." And I tasted it and I really enjoyed it. And he gets it outside of the Chablis area. And with a bottle of Bourgogne, you could mix anything on this map and call it white Burgundy. And if you're a very famous upscale producer, let's say in Chissani or Puini Montrachet, right in here, oh, annotate, there we go, right in here, your expectation is that your Bourgogne is probably going to be a little bit of what we call repli, a blending down of your wines. So you'll take your best wines, you make your wine, and then you'll have some little things that maybe you didn't include. Maybe it's some corner of the vineyard or some younger vines or maybe some other holding. Usually if you're like we just tasted the Petit Chablis producer, Defaix, his great holdings make his great wines. And then he owns some little spots in Petit Chablis to be able to make the Petit Chablis. If you're a Chissani or a Meursault or a Puini producer, you may have a little Saint Roma holding or a little flatland holding in the village to make a village wine, or a neighboring village to make something that it doesn't have to sell for that same price point. And you have an opportunity to blend those spots together and create a Bourgogne. Now, that is going to be a less expensive title, but with less expense comes a little less expectation. So you want to protect your reputation. You want to make the best wine you can. And in a tough vintage, you might take your best wine and blend it all the way down into a Bourgogne and really make a Bourgogne that people go, wow, that's pretty significant. So, and if you can't even do that, you don't make the wine. You just pass, and that's also often a choice. And there's places you can sell the juice without putting your name on it and blowing your reputation. So this is a blend of potentially some Chablis and some from outside of, in the different areas of the Chablis area, outside, and maybe it's in Auxerrois or in Saint-Brie, someplace like that, where he can make a blended wine of value. This guy carries, though, biodynamic and organic ethos and it has an absolutely beautiful, clean, modern winemaking facility, all estate stuff, and really does carry that high ethos. So you're getting a little bit more oomph in this wine, and it definitely going to be coming off of some vineyards that have a little bit of slope. Now, when the vines don't have slope, you're going to get a little bit deeper, richer soils, and the vines are going to focus on growing grapevine. So these hillsides really make the vine stress out a little bit, and you're going to get a little bit more power and oomph. And that's what you have in Chablis, these rolling hills, these soft slopes, the golden slopes. And that is what Chablis and or Burgundy is all about. Here's a copy of the pack. I look at the package. It is 100% Chardonnay. And you'll see in a minute when we taste it, maybe you've already tasted. This does have a resemblance of Chablis. And I'm absolutely certain there is some Chablis blended into this wine, but allows him to blend with some other appellations to create something, keep the price point a little softer and the wine has a little touch of roundness to it. Some famous sites for some great Chardonnay in Burgundy. And here's our package. We're up to, it's only $8 different. That nose has got a little bit more fruit in the nose, a little bit more. You went maybe from a green apple to a golden apple, maybe some pear, a little bit more everything, a little bit more tension, a little bit more intensity, a little bit more length, a little bit more click, 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 just kind of getting you there. $10 more, getting $10 more worth of wine. And I think it's a really nice option and a fun conversation to go from Petit Chablis to a really nice Bourgogne. And there are Bourgognes that you can buy for less, but I'm telling you now, at $33, this is this is better. This is good stuff. I only have a couple Bourgognes on the website. I'm proud of them all. They're a little distinctly different from each other based on who I own, and that's why I love wine. And there's so many different expressions, and who we would all get bored if we had to drink the same wine every day. Let's move to Oregon. Got to finish the number two. I hope you like that as much as I do. I really like the how persistent that is, and it really presses that quality button a little harder. Thank you, Erica. Yeah, the finish is a little longer, isn't it? And it kind of sticks around a little longer. That persistence, that intensity, I think we'll continue to see that elevate as the price point moves as well. I think Chardonnay, if you look at some of the Chardonnays we're tasting tonight, whether it was the Petit Chablis, maybe 20 years ago, Petit Chablis was a little bit more common under 20 bucks. I don't know. Default probably was always a little bit higher than most, just a better reputation. But, up until now, I want to say, because we're probably right at that moment where we're going to start seeing the next leg up. I mean, that's what's going to happen with a 15% tariff on wine and all that we're ingesting. We're going to see the next leg up. And it might just be a buck or two. Maybe it's, 15% on a $30 bottle might actually translate to about $4 because it's on the cost of the wine to the importer. And then I get the wine and my cost is increased, probably the equivalence to $10 off of the or 10% of the retail. So we'll see that kind of bump up here. And I can tell you, as a website owner and a wine shop owner, some people are really pretty aggressively coming in and grabbing the expensive stuff that they want to own. Probably a good opportunity because it might be the last time you see some of these prices. You just mark the day. You could go to Costco or you could buy it from my site. Dom Perignon, what is it, 255 at Costco. I doubt it's going to be 255 for much longer. And if you go there soon, I mean, all the 15 Dom is here. It's already here. And that's what vintage they're in. So when the next vintage comes, inevitably it's going to be a considerable chunk higher. And my 10-year 10 Dom Perignon thesis still intact that it'll double in price every 10 years. Evening Land. This is Seven Springs Vineyard. This is Eola-Amity Hills, Oregon. Big conversation, big topic right now because I'm planning a trip to Oregon for February of 26. Just a little weekender. Going to get up there on Friday night, stay in Portland, have an incredible dinner with one of my favorite wineries on Friday night. I'm telling you about it because I want you to come with me. I got 10 spots. Love for you to come. We get in Oregon Friday night, February 27th. We go to a top restaurant called the Arden. We're going to stay in Portland. We get in a little vehicle. We have a really cool company that's going to be driving us around. They're experts in the Oregon history and the topography and the who's what where and all that stuff. And we'll have some really nice conversation in the 30 to 40-minute drive from Portland into wine country. We'll see some greats. Currently targeting places like Big Table Farm, Soder, Bergstrom, Hundred Suns, Antica Terra, Holocene. Maybe even this one that we're tasting now. We'll see if how much we can fit in. Um, I'm looking at probably 6 wineries for the weekend. This is a very cool brand that we're tasting. Evening Land started back in the 1980s. Al McDonald was the guy who first planted these vineyards. They had some really noble oversight, and um, it was the legend. Let's see, Dominique Lafond brought this property into his consultation, along with Rajit Par and Sasha Morman, and so there's been a lot of really great names attached to Evening Land. Now, Chardonnay in Oregon, there was a first iteration back in the 90s, and it wasn't great, and it failed. And they planted the wrong type of Chardonnay. Basically, they planted late ripening clones in Oregon. And they're like, they woke up one day and they said, why are we planting late ripening clones when it's a cooler place? So they changed the clonal selection of Chardonnay, something that ripens a little earlier. They changed the winemaking style to be a little less oaky buttery because that fell hard out of favor, and they went more towards that balance and that intensity and that length, and that's what we're going to taste here. That fruit is taking a little bit more share of the pie in the nose. Even though Oregon's still cooler, it's still way more fruit oriented than they are in Burgundy, but it's kind of a nice half step towards what we're going to see in California. Lots of volcanic soils, lots of diversity of soils. Willamette, and this is a single AVA in the Willamette called Eola-Amity, and a single vineyard inside of that. Here's Al McDonald. I didn't put Sashi or Sashi or Raj picture because we focus. I think every slideshow we've done for the last 6 months have probably got a picture of those guys. They make so many great wines all over the place. So Al McDonald, I believe he's Norm McDonald's brother, but don't quote me on that. Oregon, beautiful place to visit, beautiful because you're driving through all this vineyard land into the vineyards where often the grower and they are the grower producers. That's what's really unique about Oregon. A lot of grower producers, and they're so attached to their land, and none of them are making that much wine. Prices are still very competitive. This wine got 93 points, comes in at about 33 bucks. I just saw your note, Erica, and I like that lemon. Um, it's like, kind of like a lemon air freshener. Just a kiss of that lemon. Mm. Yeah, that really carries. And there's some crazy acidity there. That is really, um, that acidity is making your mouth water. It's making mine water a lot. And it's that would be so good with food, so good, and be able to cut through something with a little bit more fat. Love to have it with like chicken stuffed with goat cheese, maybe some pine nuts. That sounds good. A little butter kind of sauce, maybe a little garlic butter. I cook a lot of chicken, use a lot of garlic. Tend to use more olive oil than butter now, but chicken loves butter. If you're making it for a restaurant, you probably want to use a lot of butter to keep people really happy. But olive oil is great, and I think that would work out really well and very natural. I tend to use I use like a little mortar thing, and I grind a little rosemary, little um, thyme, some cumin, and salt and pepper. Good amount of salt, generous on salt. Cover the entire chicken, bake it at 425 for just under 90 minutes. If you like a little blood, some people do. My wife hates that, so I have to cook it all the way till it's 90 minutes. I tell her 90 minutes, that's it. It's out. It's coming out. Hey, next week we're doing Loire Valley. Did you know in a strange wine world, Loire Valley last year posted the largest financial gains of any wine region in the world? Loire Valley, of course, home to Sancerre, but we saw really nice price increases, good, healthy price increases for categories like Vouvray, which is on fire, all the Chenin Blanc subzones. And even Muscadet is starting to move up in price. Poor Muscadet. Been the same price for 30 years. Um, Next week we'll taste probably the best Cab Franc in the Loire Valley. Bernard Baudry as single clos. We'll have a mind-blowing. Let's see if I click on this, it goes to it. Sometimes it does. Here it is. We're going to have a mind-blowing Sancerre 2024 small vintage Vacheron elite producer, 96 point Sancerre. Oh my God, is that bottle good? That's going to be tough to taste anything else around. But look at poor Muscadet, 15.95, solid little bottle of wine, great summer white, oyster extreme. If you're going to have seafood of all types, a bottle of Muscadet, perfect. Just serve it super cold. And man, it's just chiseling. So good. My mouth is watering talking about that. Le Rocher de Violette. This is one of the all-time great value wines of the Loire Valley. One of the best producers of Vouvray, Champelot. We'll taste an orange because this is very much a Loire Valley thing. They're really into the natural wine movement. I mean, almost all the producers are biodynamic uh, and or organic. And so this orange wine's really fun. Even if you don't like the orange wine movement, you'll like this one. And we'll go into Bernard Baudry with this Chinon Rouge, La Croix Boissy, and it is 2019. It is ridiculous and great to have some bottle age on it. This is really top-notch Chinon. So really a fun lineup next week. Think about enjoying that with us. We'll go on to Argentina on August 20th. Big Italian Reds, top Rhones of the world, which ironically doesn't have a single wine in it from the Rhone Valley. But we do have a Rhone showcase of actual Rhones coming. So we kind of pay homage to it by going from Greece to Washington to Spain to Australia to Santa Rita Hills to a super high end from Keplinger from Shake Ridge in Amador County. I think you'll dig that as well. All right. So lots of fun stuff coming down the pipe at Zoom into Wine. And thank you. So many of you are already signed up for so many of these. So I'm kind of preaching to the choir, but I really appreciate all of your support, guys. We love doing this with you and seeing you all each week. We move on to wine number 4 already. Number 3 was treating me pretty damn good today. I have to upgrade that in my memory. Damn. I like that one. Now it's really, that's the other thing. You give the tasting like this really gives you different perspective because sometimes you taste one wine at a time and you have a memory of it and but then you fold it in. It's like, an ace, and then the next card is a ace, and you got another, and maybe, you know, a king or a jack. Um, so I want to, impress you tonight with a really good hand here. And we're going to a juggernaut. This is Bodega Chacra. If you've ever Zoomed with us before, you know of my love of this brand and the guy who runs the place. I'll tell you about him in a minute. But this is from Patagonia, Argentina, where I got to take a group in October. And man, was it cool. We forget, the way time works, at least in my brain, I forget all the pain and I remember all the pleasurable stuff. Uh, we were in Argentina for 14 days with a group and we took 12 flights. We were traveling hard. And by the way, when we were in Chacra in the middle of the Patagonia, the only airline that flies anywhere in Argentina is Air Argentina or something like that. And they went on strike on the day that we were supposed to fly. So our travel coordinator, who we always work with, some great people, 12 midnight, found a Sprinter van guy to drive 12 hours to come pick us up from Buenos Aires down to Patagonia. They got there, they drank a bottle of water, used the restroom, and then drove us 12 hours back to BA. In fact, I think they made it back in about 11 hours. They were breaking the speed limit at any point they could. And we made it back to have Michelin star dinner in Buenos Aires at midnight. In Patagonia, it is not the first place you're going to think of for great wine, but Piero Incisa della Rocchetta, the grandson of the Incisa della Rocchetta, nobility in Italy, owner of Tenuta San Guido, the producer of Sassicaia. The family had a couple of kids, and all of them wanted to lead. Well, Piero's the youngest. So Piero decided to let the older siblings take care of Tenuta San Guido, and he has a passion for Pinot. So he got some of his friends together and looked all over the place. And he, in early 2000s, found an 80-year-old vineyard in southern Argentina. One of his best friends is uh, Jean-Marc Rouleau, Roulot, from the village of Meursault in Burgundy, who makes $500 wines that you can't find. They're really tough to get. Legendary, great collectible, top-notch brand. Jean-Marc Rouleau, impressed with the project, said, I went in and partnered with him. And Jean-Marc Rouleau and Piero Incisa make this Chardonnay together. This is buying Rouleau a la Patagonia. The rivers, the forests, the wind. This place has great weather patterns, a wonderful place for cooler climate varietals. Chardonnay and Pinot is what he does best. He does make a couple other little fun things down there. But this is now one of the larger natural wine, organic wineries in the world. Not huge, doesn't take a lot of land to be able to say that, but he is certified biodynamic. Doesn't say it anywhere, but he is. He is he makes a few natural wines that he only sells in Argentina. And then these wines have very little use of sulfur, but all the vines are hand-picked, hand-harvested, biodynamic, and there's two selections. There's an estate high-end selection that sells for about 150 bucks a bottle, and there's Mainqué, which is a representation of the bottle. And you can see on the label by Jean-Marc Rouleau and Piero Incisa della Rocchetta. It's 100% Chardonnay. He uses a little less wood on this wine than on the estate, but honestly, if you taste them side by side, you might think it's the other way around because of the selection of the fruit here carries the wood a little differently. But these are not oaky wines. These are wines that really showcase the minerality of the place, which there is a wonderful sense of. That's Piero. I just call him Piero. He went to Pepperdine, got his MBA there. I lived in Santa Monica. We became very good friends. and actually was at a restaurant in LA last year about this time, and I'm just standing there, and all of a sudden, out of the corner of the restaurant, Ian, and it was Piero who came gave me a hug. It was great. I gotta tell you the truth. It made me look pretty damn good because I was standing there with a bunch of wine guys, and he didn't go running over to them and give them a hug. He gave me a hug. Nice guy. This is what it looks like. He planted the same tree formation that they have at Sesakaya, basically parceling off each of the hectares. Hectare is about 2.3 acres, and he wants to provide some shade and some wind protection. And he nursed back to health vines that were basically abandoned 80 years ago. This is an old riverbed. And so there's a lot of round river rock and some really interesting diversity in soil and a lot of old root material. So he nursed back a lot of those old cuttings and stuff, and some of the vines go back. He makes a Pinot Noir that's like 1932. It's when the vineyard was planted, and so there's a Pinot from those cuttings, and then he makes a 55 from 1955, and then some other wines that are blended wines from his estate, all estate grown. We're at $70. This is like the greatest deal in the world for a Burgundy lover. If you like the style, and not everybody has to love this style. It may take a moment to warm up on you, but 97 points by Suckling. Erica, you're right on tonight. I love that medium intensity. I think you're 100% correct. The yellow pear, kind of uh, somewhere between an Asian and a what's my pear types? I like that note that you caught the slight herbaceousness. What is that? What kind of herbal thing could you lean into? It has kind of a toasted barley, toasted rice. I'm not sure what it is. There's something there. Um, White pepper. That's cool. I like that too. And that it really, I mean, honestly, in a blind competition, blind tasting, the Psalms would all think this is Rouleau. And it happens all the time. People think it's Merceau. Maybe, how about nutty? Did you go in the like some sort of a toasted nutty character, hazelnut or um just something in there? But there is definitely a lot of complexity to this wine, and uh, and that minerality is just right there to remind you at the end. Everything's in beautiful balance. Wow, beautiful balance, and that's why Suckling kind of goes overboard here. Suckling says apple, brioche, flint, pear, slate. That's pretty cool. I think bing, 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 slate. It might be it. Hints of apple tart. That's cool. Richness and depth. Tim Akin, a master of wine, close to perfect vintage. Oh, that was Piero saying that. 30% new oak on this wine. Oh yeah, a little clay amphora as well. How cool is that? And I saw those amphora. Um, just a little bit of to balance it, bring it in. It's not a half and half or anything like that. Just a little bit of clam for a 30% new oak, and then some older wood. Pistachio. There's Tim finding the nut. And he says some orange zest. I'm not finding that today, but maybe it's there. Lip smacking minerality. Like that too. Very, very cool. Hope you enjoyed that as much as I. Let's move on to wine number five. If there's a brand in Chardonnay that had a better year this year than Hudson, I don't know it. Hudson just got 100 points for their new 23 release, which hasn't come out yet. I sold the 22 really well. Um, there's reasons. I can take you through a set of reasons. If you haven't heard of this brand before, not surprised, but you will know more about this in a second and why it's one of the hottest brands in the Chardonnay department right now. Lee Hudson bought this vineyard, 3,000 acres in the early 1980s for pennies an acre. Stole it. Probably a moment in the economy. Remember the early 80s? My father had the worst timing of any human being ever. In the 1982, he was a executive recruiter when unemployment went to 17%. I remember because we were starving. It was just a tough time. And uh, yeah, my dad made some really interesting career choices. Consulting winemaker here was John Kongsgaard, or is John Kongsgaard. Kongsgaard sells his Chardonnay for close to $200 a bottle. This is the facility that he makes his wine at. This is the vineyard that he buys his fruit from. And he makes wine for the owner of this place called Hudson. I'm not telling you this tastes exactly like a Kongsgaard, but it's Kongsgaardian. 200 acres of vines on this 3,000 acre estate. It is unbelievable property. And the list of producers that make their wine from this place and buy fruit from this place and maybe even make their wine at this place, because when he made the winemaking facility, he really didn't make much wine for himself and he never intends to, but he knows there's a lot of small artisans and they need a really cool facility to be able to use. So there's like 20 wineries that make 1,000 cases of wine each at his place. And it's made for these small lots. It's just really cool. And a pretty cool place to visit if you're going to Napa and Sonoma. This is 100% Chardonnay. It's a combination of 4 different blocks. Here's our reference to Chardonnay. There's a picture of John Kongsgaard. That was probably 10 years ago right there. He's been doing it for a while. He made Newton unfiltered Chardonnay the rage in the 1990s. That's when I was a wine salesperson on the street for Young's Market Company. And that wine, you could ask for it, but you wouldn't be able to get it. There's the property. Here's the wine. 70 bucks a bottle. Let's take a look at the review. Get a couple notes. You guys post what you're smelling in there. Wine Palette, by the way, is she used to be the editor of the Wines Advocate for Robert Parker. When he sold, she left and started the Wine Independent, and that partnership kind of came undone. So she went on her own now as the Wine Palette. That smells very Kong's Guardian. You notice how that fruit has become a bigger part of the nose experience, and we're now smelling, as the palate says, juicy peaches. Lemon curd for days. Honey toast and lime blossoms. Salinity. I think that's very true in both the nose and in the mouth here. Can you get that saltiness there? Right on the end, that right as that finish starts. That salted apple, salted caramel. There's almost a confectionery kind of a element to it. Lemon curd, salted caramel, shortbread, butterscotch. So many of these terms kind of lean into that. Erica's gone wild here. A very pronounced aromas of flavors of lemon zest, gardenia, getting some stone fruit too, like passion fruit. I like that. The gardenia, yeah. I I think that's a combination of things together. They say jasmine, it's floral for sure, and this is pretty generous, pretty likable, and a deal in the world. Uh, of very good wine. This is a really good find.
It's so interesting to really detect the California versus I mean it's so immediately it's so different and distinct and so signature.
And that's what some more sunshine will do. It kind of lifts the fruit off of the that stony minerality. And honestly, I like them both. I like both styles. They're very different. There's something very hedonistic and enjoyable about this wine in this setting because we're not sitting down having a chicken. We're just tasting the wines on their own. And so this wine's just really like bam, you know? And whereas the wines with some minerality are kind of begging for some food, this wine, you don't even need food for this. This is like pure joy. I wouldn't be afraid to have it with food. And again, that roasted chicken. I'd love to take this little butterier, a little rounder, a little creamier into some really good salmon or river trout, red flesh fish, maybe some. I used to say sea bass, but damn thing is almost extinct now. I haven't had sea bass forever. Wow, we have climbed a ladder, and we are at the top of the ladder now. Wine number 6. Let me introduce you to Nid Tissé. I'm so excited about this brand. I've carried a couple of different wines from this producer over the past couple of years. She's just got started. And I just happened to know her from my work with Philippe Melka, and meeting him, going to his winery, representing him in different facets of my career. And then his assistant winemaker decides to start her own brand. So let me tell you more about her. This is a single vineyard from the Russian River called Bacigalupi, which is in itself a magnificent vineyard. In her hands, it's one of the highest scoring Chardonnays of the year. By the way, the 23 already got scored 99 points. This is Russian River real estate. Her name is Marie-Laure Almond. She was working for Atelier Melka for 18 years. Philippe Melka is such a force. His background, Aubryon, Chateau Petrus, and he was the original winemaker at Dominus. He met his wife at Dominus. She is magic too, and never gets the spotlight, unfortunately. But just if she were in a room by herself, she would project light. She's amazing. She's got her own doctorate. She's really as much to blame for the quality of the wines that they make at Melka as anybody. And Marie-Laure, she's from Burgundy. Her mother is a chef, gave her passion for food and wine. And Marie-Laure is now, still involved with Melka in some ways, but she is dedicated to making Chardonnay, which Melka doesn't really make, and Pinot Noir, which also Melka does make a little bit, but she's making a Pouilly-Fuissé in France. She makes Bacigalupi, which is the vineyard we're looking at right here. Old Italian vineyard, 100% Chardonnay. Her restraint, her focus on acidity and tension, and her ability to coax crazy complexity is really cool. She also makes a Hyde vineyard, which is also a 99 pointer, and she's making and trying to acquire some vineyards in Santa Barbara County as well. This is a general characteristics of Chardonnay for our viewers on video. Here's what the review says. Fresh pineapple, lemon tart, yellow apple, honeysuckle, beeswax, cashews. Cool. Different. There's a little bit more to gain about this wine. I'm going to get into the wine notes for a minute and we'll get there. Beautiful place to appreciate this vineyard. Old vine farmers in the Russian River. So she is actually Les Maisons, which is a forest where they grow oak right outside of Burgundy. And she has really great personality in person. She was actually a VIP speaker at our Stars of Pinot Noir, where people were awestruck by her Pinot. 99 points, by the way. Santa Barbara. She's very competitive. Everything she does, she wants to be the best. And let's see, I'm getting to the winemaking stuff. She worked in Cognac, in Burgundy. She worked for Hartford Court. She worked for Melka. Her husband is Frederick Ammons, who is the winemaker for Rudd. That's like a marriage of royalty right there, Rudd and Melka. They have two girls of their own. So she also plays with some amphora a little bit. So this wine's aged in neutral barrels and clay egg. So it's not quite an amphora, but it's an egg. And the egg shape is round. So when you get fermentations, things start moving and they move in a circular motion. And when you're in amphora or clay, you're sucking, like because of the circular motion, you're sucking air through the membrane of the clay, providing this what they call micro oxygenation, just a very little bit. And so it kind of knocks her big fruit character down, but adds another dimension to it. I think she makes about 200 cases of this wine. Can you feel the tail of acidity on this thing? That is cray cray. And it is really this is a wine that will take on another dimension with food. May not have that super hedonistic touch of the Hudson, but I think it's got some really cool balance and a really neat take, and kind of represents everything that we just talked about. It's kind of got one foot in the old world, one foot in the new world, a little bit of modernity using old world things like amphora. And so it's kind of like all things great wrapped together. And also just think the frickin' packaging is so cool. If I were to make a wine label, I'd hope it looked that great. Isn't that beautiful? I'm one of the few stores in the state that has this wine too. I pull some favors. So I get a little bit. I don't get much. And when it's gone, I have to ask him nicely and might not always have it. But I will be getting some 23.
Ian, what does Tid Nisse mean? Is there
That's fantastic question, and I know the answer, but means woven nest.
Oh,
Um, and they even pull from, they probably pulled that definition from her website,
yeah.
because you can see it says in California uses the name for Pinot Noir, da da da. Yeah, and this I know she ties it back to her family with her mom and the passion that her mom had for cooking and wine and food and life. And so this is kind of making these type of wines reminds her of her home. Very poetic, and she's so intelligent. Like if they measured IQ of winemakers, she would win there too. Let me see if there's a picture of her. I should have a picture of her because she was just at my event, but it kind of happened so fast. But that's her. And you're going to see her reviews everywhere. I promise you, this is not the last time you're going to hear about Nidtis. She just got started. And like I told you, that competitive gene of hers, you're going to see her climb to the top. Chardonnay's in good hands with some of the producers we showed tonight. And I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We drank about $320 worth of bottles. Um, and um, we give you all a 10% discount to use on the website. It works on all the wines on the website, not just the Chardonnay department. So go ahead and put that to work if you would. For those of you that live in Los Angeles, we can deliver the Zoom kits free as long as it accompanies $100 worth of wine purchases. I always have to clarify because we do these Zooms at cost. So we can't pay for delivery with a Zoom kit. But if you did pay the $20, we give it back to you as a gift certificate. And we want to encourage your continued use of the product. by the way, $20 doesn't even pay for the cost of delivery in the state of California anymore. $14 for a signature from UPS. So things are getting a little crazy. Here's the upcoming Zooms, and you can see that we have now produced Zooms all the way through the end of the year. So check them all out. Some of them haven't been priced yet. So if there's zeros there, it just means we haven't quite figured out what we're doing, but we got all the concepts up. We'd love to have you.
And
And
may I ask a question about that? Every time I order more than one
yeah,
tasting, it throws things off because of the delivery cost.
yeah.
So is it best just to order one and then leave and then come back and order the other one?
It is kind of, unless you can figure out how to get it to charge you for multiple deliveries,
Yeah.
which you should be able to do.
Okay. I'll
Roll where you can select 6 delivery charges or whatever.
okay. All right. I'll try that.
Yeah, and I appreciate you. You're not alone, and thank God. See, and sometimes we just send you one bill for all the deliveries. You could just know that we could do that too,
Okay.
and that's whatever's easy for you. Please keep it easy. We'll hopefully we'll catch it, and if we don't, let us know.
Yeah, your team is really good about coming back and saying, "Hey, we're going to have to charge you again for delivering." I'm fine, but I just wondered if I was doing something wrong.
Yeah, I basically have a incentive plan. If they make 0 mistakes, they get maximum incentive. So I was perfect, but it's the way that they're encouraged to.
Okay, thank you. And I wore my shirt for you tonight. Can you see?
Oh, thank you. What's it say?
It did 2024
All
World
right.
Series champions.
Hey. Although we lost again today,
Oh,
but
don't tell me. I was going to go look at it.
some good things happened today, though. And there's encouraging signs.
Okay.
A close one. We should have won. We should have won the whole
Always.
series.
Yeah, the other day we should have too, but hey.
But a good week in the life here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Anytime it's August and it's not 100 degrees, I'm happy. Uh,
Yeah.
but we have some future things happening, and we thank you guys for joining us tonight. Any questions or comments from anybody? I'm happy to field those. Thank you, Crystal, for making this an awesome ending to my birthday, Tanya.
Yeah, I just wanted to just tell, I wanted, before I get off the Zoom, I just wanted to tell my mom, Tanya, happy birthday. It's her birthday today and she loves Chardonnay. So it came on her birthday perfectly. So thank you and happy
All
birthday.
right. Happy birthday, Tanya. That's awesome. Well, super great. And to all of you that join us on a regular basis, thank you. And for those of you that are occasional viewers, thank you as well. Thank you to you all, and have a good week. And I will see you next week. Check out the Zoom at YouTube, Zoom into Wine or Merchant of Wine, and like the subscription channel. I got to do better at plugging that. Give us a like on YouTube at Merchant of Wine so that you can get notified when each new video gets posted. And that's where you'll always be able to catch to see if you ever have a problem watching the video. Take care, everybody. From LA, I'm out.